Good afternoon, class. This is Mr. Foley. I'm reporting back to you guys on do. I'm sorry. I'm reporting back to you on day 2 of online learning. I'm hoping you're getting the most out of this experience. Just as you're growing in the experience, we're growing also as educators. Um, Basically today we're just going to talk about a story that Group 4 is reviewing. The story is called "What Did You Say?" The text features on how animals function in society. I don't want to give any indication what the story is about before we read it, but I just want to give you an understanding on what the unit is based on this week for Group 4. Before we even get into the assignments, I just want to read a couple of standards that we will be reviewing today for digital learning. The first standard is students will be able to apply grade level phonics and word analysis skills in order to decode words in text. The second objective is students will be able to read increasingly more and difficult text with accuracy, speed, and expression in order to gradually increases reading on level text with comprehension. Third objective is students will be able to refer to details and examples in order to explain what the text says explicitly. And objective 4, students will be able to refer to details and examples in order to draw inferences. Apologize for the miscommunication. Well, I am continuing to work on Google Hangout. I'm going to reach out to somebody because I think there's a technical error with me accessing Google Hangout. So we can make sure that we meet all our objectives that are stated in what I'm actually reading to you. I know one of the objectives we won't actually talk. We won't be able to do because I'm on YouTube. And that students will be able to refer to details and examples in order to explain what the text says explicitly. While we're reading the text called "What Did You Say?" Just remember those objectives. Keep those objectives in mind, and that's something that you are looking for within the text. Remember, you're reading. We're trying to read words fluently. We're trying to read. We're trying to decode words that are unfamiliar with us. We're also trying to use context clues to understand words that we may not know. To understand words, the definition of words that we may not know. Just keep those strategies in mind. More and more you practice it, better and better you get. Just getting into the story. What did you say? Obviously, if we even look at the pictures, we know this text is about animals. What we can infer, remember, inference is basically an educated guess, using the information that's given to you, making connections within the text, and kind of making a prediction on, you know, what could take place next, or what is the tensions of the story. Just by the 4 words in the title, "What did you say?" and we see the pictures of the insects and the animals. We're figuring that this text is going to be about animals making sounds. Um, Remember, you guys in general at every classroom was doing it, that I was pushing into annotating your paragraph, breaking that passage down into paragraph to paragraph. We will have discussions after I read a paragraph. And if you have any questions, leave the questions on my page, and I will do my best to get back to you. Starting off with the story. How would you communicate if you couldn't speak? Use sign language or grab the closest handheld device and starting text. In baseball, players and coaches often use hand signals to communicate. Coaches often use hand signals to communicate about stealing a base, hitting the ball into the left field, or throwing a fastball. What do animals do? Animals can't speak, so they use visual sounds and touch to communicate. You may be wondering what an animal possibly has to say. A lot, actually. So when we break down that paragraph, we get an understanding that this passage is going to talk a lot about how animals communicate. There was a text that we read this school year. I know the group that the sixth grade group that I pulled is familiar with this story, and it talked about animal intelligence. It talked about that one situation where the burglars came in the house, and the parrot was observing what the burglars were doing, and the burglars didn't realize maybe how smart that parrot was, and stated one of the burglars' nickname. When the cops came, the parrot was saying the burglar's name, and actually you know um that's what actually led the police to arrest certain individuals. That story talked about communication, how animals communicate. So you do have prior knowledge in the concept of this test. I mean this text. Um, the thing is that this introduction paragraph, it relates sports. When playing sports, there's hidden signals, so the other team isn't aware of what you're going to do, and then they relate it to animals. How do animals speak? One of the things that text had stated was that animals they make visual eye contact, they make sounds, and also touching is an indication on how insects and animals communicate. Um, Remember the introduction, especially introduction paragraph, tells a lot about the story. It definitely gives us an understanding on, you know, basically the main idea of this text so far is about communication. Paragraph 2: peacocks and fireflies are visuals to attract mates. Male peacocks are known for their colorful feathers. They fan out their feathers and parade in front of females. Male fireflies light their fire, so to speak. They use light to attract females by signaling to them. Females respond by flashing their own light. Light and color are visuals that allow these animals to communicate. So the second paragraph, we go from an introduction paragraph that talks about how sports has signals and hidden messages for other teams not to determine what they're doing, to now specifically focusing on two actually a bird and an insect. Um, just remember, sometimes you have to reread information if you miss it. The information in that paragraph it was straight out. It was concrete. It wasn't too in depth on what points they were trying to get across. Um, Reading that paragraph, you get understanding that the colors of peacocks help kind of attract their mates. Um, and with the fireflies, they respond to each other through flashing their own lights. Now, maybe it's a very very simple question. I always believe that we start off simple and we build on that concept. But if somebody says, "Hey, how does fireflies how do they attract one another?" You can say basically by the light that they project, and then as we know, anytime we state something, especially at our grade, we're always going to support it. We're going to support it by the text online. This, that, and the third on page. This is 13. It states that, and now whatever details that you put to support your answer, you have a valid claim. You have a age appropriate claim, meaning that we're fifth, sixth, seventh graders. We know how to we know how to build up an argument. We know how to build up a claim that supports what we're saying. Third paragraph. Under the sea and in the sky, whales and birds communicate using sound. Whales such as the humpback whale use sounds called phonotions, which are too low or too high for humans to hear. Whales produce these sounds to keep in contact with other whales. The whale sounds travel long distance and then some. They can reach whales that may be swimming as many as 50 miles or 80 kilometers away. Ponder that. So again, you always focus on the characters that that paragraph was talking about. Um, Knowing that what we know about this paragraph is basically they talk about they the theme is the same, but they talk about different animals in each paragraph. We had our introduction. We went from sports to we went from hidden messages, signals and sports for other teams not to be aware what the other team was doing, to talking about peacocks and fireflies. Now we're into talking about whales and birds. Always when you read, review the story, review the story. If it isn't verbally, you have that mental imagery, but you keep rehearsing the details. You keep rehearsing what the story is about. We did that a lot when we were in small group. We always had questions containing each paragraph that we went through because we want to comprehend that story and we want to try to catch every detail of that story. So when it's time to answer those comprehension questions, we're getting high grades and we're getting a high percentage of answers correctly. When we're talking paragraph 3, wells. One of the first things we're going to ask ourselves is how do wells communicate amongst each other? One of the things that I said is do the sounds. The pitches are high, pitches are low, but one thing that they do is they communicate with each other at a noise level that human beings cannot hear. It also states what the noises are called. It also states how far the noise travel, and they actually state the specific well that they focused on. So after the first 3 paragraphs of the text, I would, it always gets into compare and contrast, those words, analyzing the animals. In the back of my mind, I'm thinking, what's the difference in how a whale communicates next to a peacock, or how even with a peacock to fireflies. Now, I believe that the next paragraph is going to talk about birds, because in that third paragraph, they didn't say much about it. Um, as we know, reading is like preparation. It's like preparing the mind for the questions you are going to answer. Like we said, to prepare that mind, we're going to continue to rehearse this story. I know that we read paragraph 1. We got paragraph 1 down pretty well, but if we don't still if we still don't think about it, if we still don't continue to remember that information and trying to make connections on the current paragraph we're on, we may slip up and forget a key detail that that should be stated in the text. Um, the next paragraph: the songs and calls that birds make can be beautiful and melodic. But did you know that bird songs is a way or means to communicate? Birds sing and call for many reasons. They may sing to attract a mate or call to warn off a predator. They may even sing because they are annoyed. Consider this technique the next time something is bothering you. That with that paragraph, I think that everybody understands. It's clearly stated how birds make. How birds communicate. It's through singing. But one of the biggest things I took out that purpose. I mean, I'm sorry. The biggest thing I took out of the paragraph was the purpose on why they would sing, and 2 of them was either to attract a mate or to avoid predators. That's a very very big one. When we look at the rest of the animals that we discussed, from the peacock to the whale to the fireflies, none of them really and never talked about. I can't say that they didn't do it because they possibly could, but the text never talked about the purpose on why they on why they were trying to communicate amongst each other. I think in detail. They did state the tractor mates, but this is the first time I think it brought up avoiding predators. So I thought that was like a big detail that never we never heard in the text. Uh, Elephants use sound to communicate, but they also use touch. A mother elephant uses her trunk to gently stroke her calf or to discipline it. Two elephants get great. I'm sorry. Two elephants greet each other with the trunks. They place the tip of the trunk in their other's mouth. The greeting can be translated into saying hello. Wow, that's impressive. So now, not only do elephants, they communicate by touch, but they even greet each other, which that's the first time I heard that information. So what we're learning through the paragraphs, every animal has their own way of communicating, and they also have their communication means different things. Um, Elephants seem to be, they seem to be highly social animals, and the fact that they greet, I mean, that's just amazing on my part, um amazing on their part, because of the fact that that was the first detail that was brought up about these animals greeting each other in that nature. uh think of how these animals communicate the next time you need to share information with someone. Instead of speaking, using sign language or texting, try something unique and act like a peacock. That was the end of the story. Um, we have three discussion questions that the text wants us to discuss. Sleuth. It's called sleuth work. Gather evidence. How do animals communicate without words? Write three details from the article. I think that's obvious. We through the whole recording we stated there were multiple ways how animals communicate. The fireflies, they use the lights that they make to signal their significant other. The whale made the noises that went undetected by human beings. Elephants use touching in order on how they communicated. And peacocks, the color of the peacock kind of presented some form of communication. So there's plenty of details. I think there's more than three, but I believe most of the kids I work with on a day-to-day basis, you guys definitely can answer that question. Question two: ask questions after reading the text. What animal communication method would you like to learn more about? Write three questions to guide your inquiry. Ooh, I like that question. Um, I think communication wise, I would like to learn more about the peacock. What is it? One of the questions I would ask is, what is it about the site that helps other peacocks understand what message they're trying to get across. Uh, how do peacocks make other peacocks aware of danger? Um, to me, it was the peacock was they had the most vague explanation on how they communicate, how they communicated. It basically just said by color, but I mean, looking from the outside in, peacocks, animals look similar when you're not around them all day every day. So, what distinct details actually produce a form of communication when we talk about these peacocks? Um, Outside of the peacock, there's a lot of animals that we have communication questions with. We just know that peacock, they communicate by sight. The whale communicates by sound. The elephant communicates by touch, and the bird communicates by singing. The third question: make your case. What do you think is the main idea the writer was trying to share? Give several details from the text that support your this idea. I like this question. I think out of all three questions, this was the best question. Now we always try to recommend that hard work is how we approach tasks. We approach tasks to the best of our abilities. That's what the greats do. Um, remember that even though I could be, LeBron James is a great athlete, Michael Jordan's a great athlete. I've been watching that documentary. But one thing is, hard work is universal. To be great at academics, you have to bring that hard work and peace. And to be, that have a great response to this answer, even though it says provide several details, we want to go further. We want to bring that, that top notch response. And I think that we need to cite evidence on when you make your case. Obviously, we know the main idea is simple. It's animal communication. Um, but we need to go more into the text to support that claim. I don't want to give you guys an answer, especially to the most difficult question of the passage. I'm gonna leave that to you. Hopefully, some of you guys that are assigned this text will complete will complete be complete with these questions. I'll take a look over it, and I'll give you my recommendations on the quality answer you that you provided. Uh, that is the text for today. We will talk about sight words. We will talk about vocabulary. There were some things that I talked about. Were talked about in my professional development that I do want to implement. Have a discussion with you guys about. Um, I don't know if we're going to do writing Wednesday tomorrow because I haven't went to Staples and get my chart paper, but we probably will have writing Wednesdays. Um, so we can remember some of the on um key strategies when it comes to writing. Right now I am at 22 minutes. I'm looking through our packet of work, and we can see if there's anything I could discuss or I could review. Looking over grading assignments, and I've noticed, and you guys did pretty well with this, is that there's some of you guys understand the difference between suffixes and prefixes, and that's very good. Just remember, prefixes and both prefixes and suffixes give you an understanding of what the word means and gives you understanding of the context of the word. Um, Remember, keep studying that. Older and older you get, you're going to be introduced to, bigger words, or in my world they call higher order thinking words. And if you get some of those strategies down, context clues, understand prefixes, uh, understand suffixes, you'll be able to handle that type of difficulty. Remember, we're always preparing for the future. I have seen some people get these assignments done. I'm hearing more and more from students uh, that are completing assignments. If you give me some of the guys that submitted today, tomorrow morning I will correct a couple assignments with give you guys feedback. Again, I appreciate your patience, because this is it's a time of learning for me, and it's a time of learning for you. I believe that we're gonna eventually we'll get together and we'll give you a quality education. As of now, I probably would be taking questions. I'm just looking through these PowerPoints, so I'm right here. Oh, I know you can't see it, and I'm going through and I'm looking. So I'm gonna base my instruction on a lot of groups. Uh, but most of my groups, it'll be at a neutral level. But we will always it'll always try to present some type of challenge for you. So looking through day one, which we're actually on day two, I love the focus on language. It's this slide right here for some of you guys. I put on it. And this focus on language and main idea and key details, this graphic organizer actually could have been used for the text that we read. Now, when I go through these graphic organizers, these are some of the activities that we will do to break down a story, to identify components of the story. So, later on in the future, we will use these graphic organizers. Well, guys, I'm not going to hold you up too much longer. I will be back tomorrow. That will be day 3. Hopefully, you're getting something out of this. If you have any questions or concerns, just leave it on the classroom page. I'll talk to you guys soon. Be safe, make good decisions, and see you later. Bye.